YouTube influencers, how do you price them? We're going to tell you everything that we know. We hold nothing back, and I mean nothing.
Hello from Detroit. I'm Brad.
I'm Joel.
And we are here to talk about cash money, specifically influencer pricing on YouTube.
That's right. I am a brand marketer. I am trying to navigate this world of YouTube influencers. We know we need to be there. All sorts of previous channels are not as effective as they were. We're finally having to bite the bullet in spite of the fact that influencers can be a pain in the butt, in spite of the fact that they are sometimes unreliable, sometimes precious, but also sometimes wonderful to work with, and we got to get into it. Now, how do you possibly price them? I talked to one. I backed out their rate. Their rate was at a $20 CPM. I talked to another. The rate was at $150 CPM. And I'm like, how can there be such a disparity? In no other marketing channel do we see that same kind of disparity, with the exception of late night infomercials and the Super Bowl. We do see it there. But that, other than that, but yet this seems to be the you know, that is yes, I completely brain fart. That's what it looks like all over YouTube. I mean, there's a wide range. So how do we begin to navigate this?
Really, what you should do is pick up your phone and call the Out Loud group and be like, hey, I need help. But we're not going to do you dirty like that here. You are here for information.
They can just keep watching, and they're going to get everything that we'll tell them on the phone.
I mean, wait, shh, don't tell them that. We have a lot more secrets up our sleeve that we're not going to share with you in this video. But let's start and get right into it in terms of how does pricing come to be? Well, the first thing, which is pretty obvious, is that creators are going to call us and tell us what to price things at.
Literally, that's amazing.
In addition to that, it's basically going to be what is the size of the creator's audience and then the quality of their engagement, right? That's one factor when it comes to pricing. So certainly if you have a creator who has 1 million views per video, since we're talking about YouTube, like that's going to factor in versus a creator who has 30,000 views per video.
Of course. And then you said something interesting, quality of the engagement. You might be able to find another video that we recently did on engagement. Yep. Short takeaway is it matters, but probably not in the way that you think it matters. However, it absolutely matters when it comes to how creators price their out. They're looking at engagement and they are factoring that into their price for sure. Yep. Another factor that we typically find is if the creator very, very clearly taps into a market niche that is going to drive their rates up for all of this. So let me give you an example. Call it a very specific gaming channel that plays a specific kind of game, and there is some kind of brand that makes a product that is very specifically for that type of gamer that plays that type of game. And like that's just in deep audience concentration. Yeah, like they're going to pay way more. But what happens is the creator is like, oh, these people are paying me the effect of a $200 CPM, therefore everybody should. And for some other product, creators figure it out over time. They're like, hey, this is a perfect brand fit. They're going to be able to charge more. Not everyone else is going to be, is going to be as generous or need to pay as much, etc. So they do figure out, but that can just know that you might be coming into a conversation with a creator where a brand that was absolutely perfect for them and their audience had reached out, had done deals, and set a really, really, really high ceiling for what the price is. And now you're going to have to negotiate around that. It's doable. It might take a little bit of time.
Well, you did mention CPM, so I'd love to just go there in terms of what are CPMs that you should expect to pay if you're a brand working with influencers. And I think the short answer is it depends, but that's not a very satisfying answer to give. And it's I mean, as we record this, it's spring 2022, and that's relevant because had we been recording this in spring 2019 or spring 2018 or spring 2020, the answer to sort of what's the mean or the median CPM would be very different because the CPM rates have gone up over time. And I would say the median price now is somewhere in the neighborhood of a $50 CPM.
Right. Right, right, and you can do campaigns below. So we know that there are some marketers that are coming in. They're saying we're not going to touch anything below 20. That's fine, and that might make sense if you one want to really restrict the available universe of relevant shows. Two, you're really okay with all sorts of content, and you have virtually zero eye toward any kind of brand safety or brand alignment.
Right.
Sure, you might get a lot of prank channels, for instance. Again, nothing wrong with that. For all you pranksters, it's fine. You know, you're
Prank on.
prank on. However, it's also not what one might say top of the intelligence type of
Right.
content. And so you're going to pay for that. You know, again, you're a knife company and you've got cooks on YouTube that are engaging do very well. And if I'm
Absolutely.
looking at the cooking space, I know that my floor is probably going to be somewhere in the $80 to $100 range, and
Mhm.
then up from there.
Mhm.
Just because it's such a desirable audience, you tend to have, you know, cooking channels. They tend to have an audience that has a higher household income. They're more responsive. They're more discerning. Like the audience really
Well,
matters there.
here's the thing that really matters with that too. So run that analogy. When you have cooking creators and they're obviously using a knife very regularly in their cooking
Right,
channels, like you are extremely limited in terms of the number of cooking knives you can work with.
right,
And so like, but because it's so fundamental to your channel. So
yeah.
creators, they might work with your knife company, but if the opportunity cost for them is really high, that's going to be priced into what you have to
Right.
pay
Yeah. I mean
to be
that
included.
is valuable real estate on the channel. I mean
100%.
that is literally on, you know, Fifth Avenue and 34th Street. That is valuable real estate. All
No
right.
doubt about it. All right.
Um, okay.
We're ready to transition on at the same time.
We are ready. Okay. Next thing that's going to absolutely affect pricing is, and only you can answer this question, is how prescriptive you are going to be
Right.
when you come in. If you have and the more requirements that you put on creators, all of that's going to impact price. The cooler you are, the looser you are, the more likely to be like, hey, we're going to sponsor you. Say whatever you want. You know, make it good because we want there to be another sponsorship after this. But free reign, you will get enormous discount for that. And when it comes to the way that a creator prices out, because that's what they want. That is the kind of deal that they want. They want to be able to say they gave me the product, they gave me no talking points, they didn't tell me what to say. Everything that I'm saying is my own review, my own endorsement, whatever. And when a creator has the opportunity to lend that kind
Yes.
of authenticity, they will give you a discount for that.
Yeah. So if you're a brand marketer, don't create a 12 slide deck to share with creators that outlines what you need to say. Like we
Yeah.
know you like creating and developing creative briefs
Briefs. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're beautiful things, but you do not need to do that for creators. It's actually stifling to their creativity. So just don't do that. Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot else to say around that.
Another big factor. Let's talk about brand desirability. This is going to be a tough pill to swallow because you're working for a company. I know you think the product is great. The product is great. I'm sure it's wonderful. However, not all creators are going to want to engage that product to hitch
Right.
their saddle. And for some creators, they're like, you know, if I'm going to do that, they're going to pay for it. And they, you know, they've said it
Right.
where it's like, you know, they're if it doesn't enhance their own brand by partnering with yours. So like, you know, like give me an example.
Viagra.
Okay, it's going to be a tough sell for creators, and they will fully recognize like, hey, this maybe solves a medical problem. This is something that my audience might benefit from.
Right.
But nonetheless, you know, look, we work with Athletic Greens. That's a cool brand. Like it's easier to talk about. Like there's, you know, like they've got a good vibe to it. It puts the creator in like, I'm in the Athletic Greens crowd. I'm
Totally.
healthy. I'm
Yep.
fit. I'm athletic. I'm athletic. Like all these kind of desirability. So you're going to factor that in and just recognize you can't be like, well, you know, we know that the super sweet headphone company only spent X, but you know, our lawnmower sharpening tool is being quoted twice as much. What gives? You're going to have to recognize that just the desirability of your brand
Right.
is going to factor into
Right.
pricing.
Yeah.
All right.
One other thing I want to add is the timing and the flexibility that a brand has. So, if you want a creator to post on a particular day of the week, let alone time, I mean, creators in general can do that, but it's going to cost you, right? It's unnecessary stress. It's a change in the creator's workflow. Most creators are going to post once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. They have some regular cadence for posting. And if you want to dictate when they post, that again, that's fine, but you're going to be paying paying more, and in some cases significantly more, because for some creators to disrupt that is huge, and you're going to be paying out the nose for. So just be aware that all these little small decisions that you're making are going to factor into pricing, and they might not factor in on the first deal, but it's going to factor in on the second deal. And oh, by the way, creators talk. Yeah. So they know who's easy to work with and who's a pain in the ass. So be easy to work with. And that's the good news, is you can control that. The better news is you're actually going to get better results anyways, because creators are the creative ones. I know, crazy to think, creatives, it's true.
Yep.
So
yep. Another one, we see this mistake all the time. Brands come in with all sorts of very, very restrictive exclusivity, and you will pay for that. And the risk to reward is just simply not there. The likelihood of a creator, doing a spot for your next closest competitor is vanishingly small. When you're running 200, 300, 400 creators a month, yeah, you're going to have that. Someone's going to be an idiot, and they're going to do that, and you don't work. Now, the damage to your brand is absolutely minimal. The damage there is frankly to the creator, because the audience is like, oh, this person's willing to say anything for anybody.
Right.
Like, I don't need to pay attention to their endorsement, right? So there already is a built-in mechanism to significantly limit, and you don't need, but I mean, we've seen 30, 40% premiums for a 6 months exclusivity, barring any other brands.
Yep.
And it's nuts. You're going to pay for it, and you just you're not getting anything. And, and think about it. Like, you're paying that for 400 different creators when the risk is only maybe one of them does it. And then you don't ever have to work with them again. Mm-hmm. And by the way, they just told you that their audience wasn't paying attention to them anyway. So the audience wasn't going to do anything anyways. It's not like their audience is now going to jump ship.
Let your creators pay. Let your competitors pay for them.
All right. We should.
One last one really quick, which is very, very similar to this, is usage rights.
Yep.
So a lot of brands who are new to influencers are used to developing creative content. So you outsource, you pay someone, they develop content. And you're like, well, we want universal rights for forever across all mediums. And that just isn't going to fly with influencers. It's going to unnecessarily increase your expenses if you want to be able to post that content on your website, send it out in emails, put it on your social. Yeah. You can do any of that, just don't do it by default. If there's something specific you want to use and it's important to you, totally fine. Just negotiate with the creators. And by all means, if you only listen to one thing, be above board about any of this. Yeah. Let the creator know what the exclusivity requirements are. In this case, let the creator know what your expectations are with respect to usage. So similar, I think it's kind of like
negotiate in good faith, because this is a relationship that you're building. All right, last one, biggest one. This is going to drive price. Is very simply, you want to say it? You say it.
No, you say it.
Past performance.
Okay.
How well do they work? Have they worked for other brands? Creators know, like, they have some idea when they run a brand and the brand comes back and it's like, we want to book you for 2 years. Pretty good signal that they generated some impressive results. Creators know this. So again, don't be thrown by, like, their rate might be entirely justified. It might also be nonsense because they're a lumberjack channel that happened to get a really big deal from a chainsaw company, and it's that niche and that specific. And of course, no one else is going to get. So just don't like do your research. And this is the thing. Like, the space is all so nuanced that when you start interacting with creators, like, we would recommend having someone by your side who actually knows the landscape and knows the space, and has a whole lot of historical data to lean on, because that really, really, really is going to be significant.
Yeah, ultimately, it's supply and demand for a creator. So when they have more demand for the number of advertising spots they're willing to share, the price goes up. Yeah. And so that doesn't mean that they're more expensive and that's a bad thing. That means they perform better. But also, to Joel's point, sometimes it's just higher because that's what the creators decided that they want to charge. So be careful, and like, CPMs are something that analytical people fall into this trap time and time again. It's like, yeah, they can have significance, but they can also be totally fool's gold. So know what you're looking at in the broader context of engaging with influencers before you start to dive in and look at it only from a quantitative analytics spreadsheet perspective.
Yep. All right. That's it for us. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. If you made it this far, you might find it worthwhile to follow us on our socials. We'll see you next time.